So in conclusion to the harassment interviews, what have we discovered here about Ariel Sosa and McDane Investments? Well, let's have a look at the award-winning Ariel first. He's demonstrated lack of respect and compliance with the Landlord and Tenant Act, governing the rights of both parties, and in addition, violating some of your basic human rights.
You gotta remember, you're kicking out
violates your privacy by entering your unit and mailbox without warning or prior consent. This has also been a common exercise by several previous superintendents, but still is wrong. It poisons the environment and preventing tenants from having reasonable enjoyment of the complex by speaking ill of tenants with the expectation of having tenants turn on each other and at times resulting in aggressive confrontations and enlisting support from some tenants to harass others, allowing and supporting drunkenness in common areas that affect all tenants and at times result in aggression and aggressive behavior, relentlessness at harassing tenants and going as far as to involve his dog by tying him up outside the tenant's door, upsetting other tenants and neighbors with the relentless and prolonged barking, involving the building drunk and having him assist in the harassment of tenants, not just myself. And it's definitely not beyond Ariel to physically harassing and bullying selected visitors even with prior knowledge of their visits, and threatening them as well since they are elderly and petite females, implicating other tenants in his lies to harass, and when caught, he then threatens the tenants. The words slander and defamation of character also come to my mind. In denial of his own wrongdoings and then accusing other tenants for it. Can't even tell the truth about storing his own son's vehicles here. Allowing people to park here that are visiting neighboring buildings unchallenged because they are of physical size and demeanor, while trying to convince tenants that he is fair and the same rule applies to all. Constantly has to tell himself that he's supposed to be in charge, but carries out his responsibilities very selectively, even if it causes personal and structural damage and serious health and safety issue for both tenants and guests alike. Definitely lacks interpersonal skills. I'm sure that's lessened by his hatefulness and receiving instructions from McDane to harass selected tenants. This also results in numerous good tenants to disappear basically overnight because they don't want to deal with this, and why should they have to? It's a responsibility of McDane Investment and Andy Catrona, and they have been so neglectful that it allowed for the making of these videos where his own staff tells us that he's instructed by Andy to harass.
I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing because they tell me to do it.
Well, they told you to do it. So all right, so you're getting it from the office. You're getting it from the office, not your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And now let's see how McDane Investment and Andy Catrona responded to these claims. A letter dated March 12, 2010 was sent to Andy Catrona identifying harassment, bullying, badgering, implicating other tenants in Ariel's lies to harass, preventing reasonable enjoyment and safety of the complex, and that has to stop. Andy Catrona chose to ignore it and allow for this behavior to continue. A second letter dated March 19, 2010 was sent to McDane and prompted by Ariel's vindictiveness that stated, "My dog's behavior with bowel movements in the building is Ariel's continued determination to harass me. That my dog has lived here for the prior 6 years without any complaints. Ariel's harassment about cigarette butts spread across the front lawn even after I show him that mine have white filters and not brown ones as was on the front lawn. He is harassing me over dog fecal matter that clearly cannot be produced by a small dog such as mine, and that it's not my dog's matter that he claims to find in areas of the building that we do not use. Ariel's dog roams the building freely. That includes apartments that Ariel may enter, It also states that Ariel falsely accuses other tenants as he implicates them in his lies to harass.
No, they never told you that they seen him do it? But you still thought, you even threatened me. You said you were going to make my life miserable.
A third letter from a guest was sent to McDane dated January 11, 2012, following a telephone conversation with Cheryl from McDane Investments as requested by her. This letter also addresses that she was harassed and threatened about dog matter on the property and having her car tagged and towed away, that she doesn't belong on his property. She also stated that Ariel's behavior can become problematic for both Ariel and McDane Investments. A fourth letter was sent to McDane addressed to Andy and Cheryl dated January 19, 2012. It reiterates what the previous three letters stated and also includes issues of harassment that has been allowed to escalate since the January 11, 2012 letter, that his illegal behavior is beyond tolerance and that it must stop. Now let's see how Andy Catrona responded to any of these letters. First letter, nothing. Second letter, still nothing. Third and fourth letter, nothing at all. The telephone conversation with Cheryl, where she's scheduled to meet and talk about this, never happened. Her lack of professionalism was demonstrated by total avoidance. I'm under the distinct impression that these letters are nothing more than statistical reports showing Andy the effectiveness of his harassment policies, negligence, and disregard for landlord and tenant laws, and yes, basic human rights as well. As you also heard in these videos, Andy instructed, encouraged, and supported this illegal behavior by his employee, and Daniel Catrona awards Ariel by telling him that he is the best superintendent that McDane has. Now I know what my thoughts are, and all of you can make your thoughts known by adding comments online or addressing them to 2597keel@gmail.com.
With you constantly harassing the tenants, myself personally, okay, Andy sits there and does nothing but say okay?
Yeah, you know, well,
Does he say okay or not?
Yeah, actually he does, yeah. They told me to do it.